Okay, who's going to introduce who?
I was going to introduce you.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Hello, hello. My name is Brianna Brown, and I'm with Florida Biz Connect. And today we are interviewing with Rafael Ferrer from Ferrer and Schmidt, and he is the CEO. And we're going to have him first explain a little bit about his company, but also how he's unique and how he carries along with the company owners from start all the way to the end, and how he supports them in their journey for growth.
Okay, well, thank you for the interview, and welcome to my office. This is my office. Well, yeah, the company started back in 2002. However, we started doing. At first, it was like a side job because I needed to support the family. But from the get-go, I started the company as an entrepreneur and working for designing a service that an entrepreneur would need. So that's how I also organize the interviews with the client, because I know I never worked for an accounting firm before. So even though that I'm an accountant, and even though that I do accounting and taxes, but I never worked for a firm. So I was always doing what an entrepreneur would need. So my meetings is supposed to be on that. It's supposed to be on seeing what they need, their operation, getting into the details of the operation, and what eventually they're going to need for successful running the company. So that's how we envision. That's how we approach each client.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked a little bit about your company before, and you kind of explained to me how you, for better or for worse, from the client's point of view, you give them recommendations on what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, things they need to correct, and how they need to change these things to progress.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, like I said, I always look at our clients' companies as my own, okay? And that's why I call myself non-traditional accounting. So we get involved in the running of the operation, not the daily decisions, but at least when we present the financial statement, we always look into the financial statement, the charts of account, and the expenses, always looking at it like one of the owners of the company. So every quarter we measure the financial statement or the results of the company against an industry, because one of the things that we learn in the program is that one thing is to have your accounting up to date, but it doesn't do any good if you don't have anything to compare it with. And so it's key, because okay, perfect, maybe I'm making 5.5% profit out of sales, but is that good? I mean, maybe I'm happy, but if the industry says that it's about 10 to 12%, the average, that's a little bit low. So it's very important to always have something to compare it to. And we have quarterly meetings with our clients, and those meetings are perceived as a board of directors meeting. So we look into, okay, last year we promised that we were going to sell this amount, or the company should organize this part of the operation, or what's going on with labor, what's going on with insurance, and so it's a kind of a test every quarter, but we get into it and we dissect what is happening, what is going on with the company. So that's pretty much the approach. It's non-traditional, and that's why we have a limited number of accounts that we take care of.
And that's where I was going with it next. You had mentioned to me that you only take on a certain amount of clients, and I was curious on how that benefits both the client and yourself.
Well, it benefits because for me, it's, even though that it's sometimes stressful, I have enough time to meet all of them. And that's something that I always wanted to do. I didn't want to be, like I said, a wholesaler for accounting. So I feel good that I can do this, and I still can meet my client this afternoon that I need to meet and work with him with his financials, because it's already almost June. And at the same time, the client can reach out to me. The client cannot say, hey, you know what? I met him once and then I never saw him again. No. We always are involved.
Yeah.
So that's why we have a limit, and that's it.
Yeah, that's very unique.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you hear of a lot of accountants that do the year-end work, They might check in with the client here and there, but really the client is left asking many, many questions throughout the course of the year. And they may not reach out and email those questions, but they have them and they never get addressed.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things, and just to add to that point, is that maybe it's not business savvy on my behalf, but I value more the relationship than the actual business. And that's why I have people to collect. Like I said, I don't do collections, but I value more the relationship. I really enjoy it. And maybe that's also the part or the reason why I do business plan, because I do business plan for any industry. So it's every time I meet a client, it's a new story, it's a new industry, it's a new process, and it's very exciting. For me, it's exciting.
And how long approximately do you have most of your clients for? Because I know the end goal is to, sell, or it's a legacy company that gets turned over to somebody else. So on average, where do your client relationships stand?
I have most of our clients, we have at least more than 5 years. We're recently bringing in new clients because we had to, at the same time, since we need to maintain that number of accounts, we had to let go some of the accounts every year. But I have more, I would say more than 25, 30%. They've been with us for 10 years, more than 10 years. Yeah. So, yeah.
And, I know a big thing that business owners don't think about enough is their exit strategy, right? Which my assumption is that you help them harness what their exit strategy is and then kind of attack it and go backwards, right, to where they are, to streamline it. What else do you put in place to help them with exit strategies if they're really not sure what it is?
Well, the way I see it is that, and this is something that we also do with accounting clients. We'll start the relationship with evaluation, initial evaluation, okay? So they would know what to expect if somebody comes knocking on the door and said, hey, I'm willing to buy this business, tell me a number. So every business owner, they need to have that number. They need to know their social security number, and they need to know that amount. Right. Because if you're walking down the street and the time to sell the business is when somebody is willing to buy it. It's not when the business is coming down, and sometimes it takes months to sell the business. It's very seldom when you say, you know what, I'm going to sell the business, next week it's going to be up in the market, and in 6 months. If you do that, it's because you're letting it go and you can leave in a lot of money on the table. But if you want to work on your exit strategy, you need to prepare the business for selling every day. So in my company, the way we do it is that we're working on having the company, all the processes working without so much of my attention. So I can dedicate to what I can add value, which is pretty much the meeting with the clients and probably some strategy. But everything else needs to go on autopilot. So when I remove myself from the equation, the company will continue. And that's part of the exit strategy that everybody should be looking around. Even if they do services like yourself, or they need to have the proper systems and the proper processes in place so you can just step aside and the company will keep going. So that's key.
For the people that are looking to sell their businesses, that would be potential clients, what do you talk to them about as far as what's going on right now with the new presidency and international people that are interested in buying into businesses here in Florida or U.S. in general?
Right. Very good question. And especially here in South Florida. What it's scaring people away is not the immigration laws or policies or anything like that. It's in the uncertainty. They don't know. For instance, we had a couple of projects lined up for manufacturing here in the U.S., not only in Florida, but other places in the U.S. And now they stopped because of the tariffs. And just the reason that they don't know what's going to happen. So it's not about so much about the policy. When the first administration happened back in 2016, a lot of people got scared, but after the 3 months, everything just settled, and it was business as usual. The problem right now is uncertainty. But we see it in South Florida. It's the U.S., the top market in the world. Everybody wants to come here. It's still the shiniest city in the hill. So people still coming in. So we just saw a little dip in demand, but it's because of the uncertainty. We expect that to come up again by the end of summer. So it's just a patch on the road. Yeah.
So I come from a family business. You have a family business, and I'm sure some of your clients are family businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you think that, what are the positives and negatives that happen within a business that is run by family?
Well, I think everything is positive in my point of view, because I really enjoy spending time with my wife. And but besides that, there's nobody else that I can trust more. But at the same time, I know that it's challenging. And we were having a lot of issues at the beginning. I remember when I dedicated 100% to the company, I told Chris, you know what, this makes sense only if you help me collecting, which is my weakness. If you can do that, we're good to go. So what happened at first is that we were stepping in each other's toes. So what we did is that we actually sat down with somebody else as a third party, as a arbiter.
A liaison.
Yes. So
a therapist.
Right. So we had to actually sit down and say, okay, you're going to take care of this, and I'm going to be in charge of this. So whatever happens, we're never going to make a decision on somebody else's field. And very seldom I have to step inside and say, hey, you know what? This is how much are we charging for this? I think we should think about it. And the other thing is that I never negotiate a price with her. That's something I don't do. I'm sorry. Especially not on Thursdays and Fridays, because then I'm going to bring in the CFO home for the weekend. So yeah, but we have to be very clear about what she's going to do and what I was going to do.
Yeah, and of course that's because it goes home with you, and it's also personal. But realistically in business, it's so important to have those lines drawn within the partners and, positions in the company as well, right? When people are stepping on their toes too much, it becomes chaotic.
Right. And it's also beneficial for tax purposes, because even if you go to Utah for vacation time, guess what? You're always going to be talking about a business. So you're always going to be talking about, oh, this is what happened with the client, or we should have done this, or, oh, look the way they're doing things. So guess what? Now that trip becomes a business trip, tax deductible.
Well, that brings me to another question, because I know that with a lot of the tax changes that are happening, I believe I heard that in 2026, or maybe it's even this year, that there's going to be a huge reduction in what you can claim as a tax break for entertainment and things of that nature. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. What happened is this is pretty much the hangover of the tax reform of 2017. Before the tax reform of 2017, you could deduct certain entertainment expenses, even like golfing club dues and things like that. A
box at a concert hall.
Right. Yes.
Right.
And that's a very good example, because sometimes when you invite or when you give tickets to Hamilton to a client, that could be perceived as marketing. But if you participate and you go to the event, now it's entertainment. So even though that it sounds like a technicality, but it's important. And that's something that they're thinking about right now in Congress, whether to extend those provisions, but because they were temporary at first. So there's a whole reason why it was considered as a temporary at first, and but you cannot renew a temporary provision without becoming permanent. So if it becomes permanent, that it's going to add more money to the national debt. So yeah, what they're looking into is to limit even further what you could deduct as an entertainment expense, but in essence, it's every time that you participate in that event. So changes are coming.
You're making it just less fun on us, but that's okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for answering all of our questions. Again, this was Rafael Ferrer from Ferrer and Schmidt, Accounting Services, and I am Brianna Brown from Florida Biz Connect. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.